Okay, we've got 62 in the meeting. It's all looking good. It's now 10 o'clock. I think we should get going. So welcome everyone to our second session in etiquette. Everything you need to know about your first meeting. It's good to have you here. We're in for a bumper session this morning. If you're watching this on catch up, then do please smash that like button, hit subscribe, and make sure you ring that bell because we want to keep you informed in everything that we're doing. If you haven't found our YouTube channel, just search for Books NECC and you're bound to find us. Okay, so if you don't know who the Northeast Corner Club is, it's us. It's all the guys with the blue backgrounds. We're part of a network of 40 other clubs in the UK who are all there to support new and young Freemasons. We're going to support you before you join, as you join, and after you've joined. It's a free club. It's a lot of fun, and we're fully supported by the province of Buckinghamshire. We're there to help you do more, be more, and get more from Freemasonry. So get involved, and we can't wait to see you join. Okay, so on with today's session. I'm shortly going to hand over to my colleague Steve, who's going to talk about the etiquette for this session, and then he'll hand on to our provincial grand mentor, John King. So John's going to talk all about the summons of the meeting, which is a critical part, a bit of reading that you need to do before you join. Then what you can expect in the temple at your first meeting, that's Dev and Marco. They're going to do a brilliant presentation this morning, and we're going to take questions and answers after that. Then we'll have some closing remarks. Now, the meeting, as always, finishes proper at 11 o'clock, but we do stay on for a sociable chat at 11:30 till 11:30. So stay on, and hey, let's keep talking. So enough from me. Steve, over to you.
Good morning, one. Good morning, all. On this lovely, bright Saturday morning. Let's get through some meeting etiquette and a few points to be aware of. The meeting's being recorded, so you won't be visible, but if you leave your camera on, it looks a bit better than just a black box. And one thing I would ask, can you please use your real name? We've got a couple of phones attending. We've got someone called Age of Comfort. Rather than know your name, Aid of Comfort. If you can do that, then we can check off on our attendee list that you're here. Now, you'll also find that you're muted. Now, there's a good reason for that, because, well, 70 people online now. If you all spoke at once, it'd be terrible. So we're muting you, but we're encouraging you to ask questions. So you can do that by using the chat button, which is at the bottom of your screen. Direct those questions to anyone with a blue background. They'll pass them through to the person that's going to answer the questions. And when we have the Q&A session, we'll have plenty of interesting questions to be asked. Now, to get the best out of the meeting, if you're on a single screen especially, try and use side-by-side view, but in gallery version. So gallery view, side-by-side. You should be seeing 4 of the Northeast Corner Club brethren. One of them had the temerity to wave. Oh, so there's another one. They've been highlighted on the meeting, so they're the people that are doing the main part of the talking. I'm not pinned, so it's I'm not important. So they're the only guys that will be talking. You'll be muted. Behaviour, normal Masonic etiquette, basically be respectful, no nasty comments, and yeah, just enjoy the meeting. And I now hand on to our Provincial Grand Mentor, John King.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for turning out once again on a Saturday morning. And I guess on this one, I feel a little bit more or better that we'll be getting back and meeting in person before we get to the end of this year. So a lot more confidence than we had. But here we've got this one, and we make the best of it. In fact, we're seeing some of the stuff that Gray's doing on this. He's getting better and better at this presented on Zoom. So I say good morning. This is the second in 3 presentations on etiquette in Freemasonry. And we're going to be dealing with the invitation to a meeting and what happens when you enter the temple. Before we look at the meeting itself, I'd like to cover the summons. Those of you waiting to join Freemasonry have probably heard us use this term before. Those of you who have been in Freemasonry a long time will be very familiar with it. But I think it deserves a little explanation. The summons is, in essence, your invitation to attend a meeting. And you'll be sent it around 2 weeks before the meeting itself. On this slide, there are 4 front pages of typical summonses. And as you look at them, you can see that they're all slightly different, ranging from the colourful and ornate to the functional. But they all carry the same basic information. Apart from this standard content, a lodge is free to provide the information it thinks will be of assistance and of interest to its members and guests. This is the front page of a typical summons. It just happens to be my mother lodge, Claydon Lodge number 9178. At the top of the summons is a lodge crest or logo. This is usually replicated on a banner within the temple or the meeting room. It has the lodge, it has the lodge name and number. It has the date it was founded. Underneath that are usually the lodge's honours. These are achievements in donating to Masonic charities. Then the address of the meeting place and the name of the worshipful master, on whose authority the meeting is being called. Details of the secretary follow, so you're able to contact the lodge and confirm attendance or send apologies. The date, time and place of a meeting are then given. The lodge meets on regular dates during a year. The variable here is the time of the meeting. This can vary depending on the type of ceremony that is being conducted, or it can be adapted, as some lodges do now, to better accommodate members' working schedules. Finally, the line at the bottom confirms the dress code for the lodge. Here its dress is dark morning dress or dark lounge suit, black tie and white gloves. Information on this will be sent to you when you join a lodge, so don't worry about that. The standard dress is acceptable in any lodge. However, there are many lodges who've got their own traditions, and it's always worth checking the dress code on the summons. A few years ago, I attended a meeting which was at the 200th anniversary of a lodge. The dress code did not include white gloves, so all of us that attended thought that was a mistake. But when we were in, we found that no gloves were required. The reason being is that when the lodge was founded, 200 years previously, there was a shortage of material in the country, and gloves, as a consequence, were very expensive. It was therefore thought prudent to conduct meetings without them, and the practice has remained with that lodge until this day. Another lodge I visit wears black tie or military dress, so it's always worth checking. On the next page, we include a list of our officers of the lodge and their ranks, which they're donated by the letters after their names. Some don't have letters, so they don't have what we call provincial honours at this point. If you're new to a lodge, you may want to use a summons as an icebreaker. Use it to ask questions of lodge members and get them to explain who is who on this list and what those ranks and letters stand for. You can do this after the meal, after the proceedings, or in the bar. So have the summons ready, just pop it in your pocket. As a general rule, it's always worth asking questions. As Freemasons, we're always very happy and anxious to impart our knowledge to you. The lodge roles the officers hold are also described on this summons. And as you get used to attending meetings, you'll become familiar with what those officers do. Looking to the future, you may spot a role that you feel is suited to your skills, and they range from ceremonial to administrative. So have a look when you start off and look through and say, you know, I quite fancy that, I'll have a go at that in the future. Included in this on this page is a reminder of when the lodge meets and when the instructional meetings of the lodge are held. Although this asks as a reminder, it's always good practice to add the dates to your diary each year. They very rarely change. Finally, my lodge includes bank details to encourage payment of dues and dining fees electronically. As a consequence of COVID, many lodges are now looking at electronic means of paying for meals and subscriptions. And I wouldn't be surprised myself if we're moving away quickly from cash to just tap and pay for dining, etc. in lodges. Next, we have the business part of the summons. This is the agenda for the meeting. Firstly, we open the lodge. We do it formally in a set manner, which you'll get used to as you become familiar with Freemasonry. We then proceed to confirm the minutes from the previous meeting. If you're a member of the lodge, it is good etiquette to have read the minutes beforehand. They should have been circulated to you electronically. And if you have any queries, raise them with the secretary before the vote. However, if you've not done so, you can still query the minutes before confirmation at a meeting. Next, on the agenda comes the business of the lodge. And in this case, it's an initiation. You can see I've removed certain details such as address and date of birth, etc. for privacy reasons during this presentation, but the summons you receive will contain full details of any individual applying for membership of your lodge. After the ceremony is complete, the lodge goes back to the business agenda. Here we've got a proposition for a candidate wishing to be initiated. Again, I've deleted certain things. Then comes something called the risings. This is a term we use in Freemasonry, and I guess you'll soon become familiar with it because it happens at every meeting you go to. There are 3 risings. These involve the worshipful master standing and asking if anyone has anything to communicate to the lodge. He does this 3 times. The first time he rises, information from the United Grand Lodge of England is communicated. The second time he rises, information from the province, in our case Buckinghamshire, is imparted. The last rising is for local information and matters regarding the lodge itself, including apologies for non-attendance. After the risings, the lodge is formally closed. At the bottom of the summons, we have the date for the next meeting. If you're a member, you should know this, but if you're visiting, this acts as a handy reminder for you to come back and enjoy the lodge's next meeting. Finally, and for no other reason than there was space on this summons, with details of the lodge website. The last page contains a lot of general information, with details about dining, who the owner of the lodge is and its contact details. Then there's some general information on how to join other orders and specialist lodges. There's even information on what to do if you want to visit lodges in other countries. We show the provincial website details so members can keep up with the latest happenings within Buckinghamshire. We have a list of past masters and founders of the lodge. And then last but not least, we give details of our charity steward and banking details to make it easy for anyone to contribute or send suggestions for which causes we should be donating to. This is a typical summons, and although they do differ slightly from lodge to lodge, they will always contain the information you need to know about where and when the lodge meets and what will happen during the evening. Just before you enter the temple, you'll find a signing in book, and here's 2 pictures of them. And I noticed once these pictures were done, my name's actually on the top of the smaller one, sorry, at the bottom half down the smaller one. I attended this lodge. There's a section for lodge officers and a section for visitors. The signing in book acts as an aid to the director of ceremonies. That is the officer who conducts the lodge's running during the meeting. And it's so he knows who's attending that evening. This will help him to greet people in the appropriate manner and to assist him at the end of the evening when the lodge closes. How this happens, you'll have to wait and see. In the case of fire, it simply acts as a roll call. Everyone's name and rank should be added to the minutes of the meeting as a permanent record. It's therefore very helpful, although we call it a signing in book, if you print your name so the secretary can read it easily. Signing the book before you go into the meeting is a great habit to get into, and it helps with the smooth running of a meeting. Once in the lodge, there are a few things you should be aware of. And here we got a depiction of a lodge. As you can see, a lodge is laid out east to west. On the far right is the seat of the worshipful master. On his right are a row of seats, usually reserved for dignitaries, and these are best avoided unless you are invited to sit there by the worshipful master. So although on this diagram it says grand officers, as an entered apprentice you can even sit there if you're visiting a lodge, but only if the worshipful master invites you to do so. On his seats to the left of the worshipful master, there are seats reserved generally for officers of the lodge, such as the almoner and charity steward. If you're unsure where to sit, speak to the secretary. The secretary and the treasurer are situated in the north, so you can see there's a little block and a desk with secretary and treasurer on this diagram. They're there to help, and the treasurer will probably be there to accept your money for dining. And you can also usually obtain a copy of a summons if you've not brought one yourself. Well, I think that's enough from me for now. It's now a great pleasure that I hand you over to 2 great members of the North East Corner Club who've worked a great deal behind the scenes pulling this presentation together. So it's over to you, Dev and Marco, to share your experience with the meeting.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Dev, and I'm a fellow craft mason at Iber Lodge. It's my great pleasure to be co-host today with the NECC team. I'd like to also introduce you to my esteemed brethren and friend, Marco Davi. And Marco is a master mason from Marlow Lodge. And something that you might not know about Marco, and actually he doesn't either, is that he was actually the stunt double for Princess Leia of Star Wars fame. And you can see he's actually representing a bit of a clue there for us this morning. So very good morning to you all. Okay, what we're looking at the screen now, folks, is a temple itself. And what you'll see as the slides whiz past are some amazing relics and properties inside this temple. There's lots to do. I've described it like being in an Indiana Jones film before. There's always something interesting in every corner that you go into. Really fantastic stuff. So let's get back to business. So what Marco and I are going to be doing this morning, folks, is we're going to be sharing our personal experiences with you of what you can expect in a lodge and in a temple. And we're going to begin with about what do you do to get ready in preparation. So I'm going to hand over to Marco to share a few tips and also what does he do when he prepares for his first meeting. Marco, over to you.
Thank you, Dev. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, let me answer Dev's question about what I do for preparation. John already covered the summons, and indeed that is one of the big documents and most important documents when you visit a lodge, especially if you go and visit a lodge that you haven't been before and you want to find out a bit more about the details. So what I tend to do is I print out a hard copy and keep it in my pocket before I go to the meeting. And I make sure I read the address on the summons to make sure I go to the right place. If it's a lodge that I haven't visited before, I want to make sure that I have got the address with me. And if I can't print it out for whatever reason, I definitely make sure I have a copy of the summons, either as a screenshot or as a file on my phone, so I can easily look it up.
Good stuff, Marco. What else?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing what I typically do is enter the address in the GPS. I make sure it's there, and well, what else I do? I make sure that, for example, I remember one instance. I was invited to a lodge, to a center where I hadn't been before, and I actually went out of my way. I checked out the parking situation, and what happened then was I actually went ahead and made sure that I was early enough so I could park and knew where the parking spaces are. Some lodges, they have great car parks. You can easily park, and then in other lodges, parking is restricted, and if you arrive kind of late, then you've got to rush, and it can be a challenge. So that's where really the address of the on the summons come into play as well.
Oh, good stuff. Great advice, Marco. So tell me, when it came to your first meeting, how did you know what to do?
That's a really good question. And I tell you what, I did not know what to do. And let me answer this question in two ways. Obviously, there's the first meeting you ever go to, and that's your own initiation, right? And I remember I was really made comfortable beforehand because I was told there's nothing I need to prepare for it. I just have to make sure that I show up at the right time in the right place. So that was very reassuring. However, when you are a Freemason then, and you start visiting other lodges, obviously the first time you visit another lodge is a big deal. And I was lucky enough, I was able to visit another lodge after my initiation within about a month. And not only was that a great experience to actually, see the actual initiation with my own eyes as well, again. And what was really great was that you could, I had actually a host that invited me to go there, and I got some guidance. And the other thing is, when you become a member of a lodge, there is a mentor in your lodge They will be able to answer a lot of questions that you might have. So before you visit another lodge, feel free to reach out to your mentor and ask about, what are the things that you have to do, and what are the things that you do. And then obviously today we're going to cover quite a few things, what's important. Yeah, so the mentor is, I think, one of the key things. And then really, I would not worry too much about going to another meeting, because you are made feel comfortable, and you learn a lot by just observing when you're there.
Great stuff, fantastic. So mentors sound really exciting. If I may just add to that, one thing I found also when I started going was that it's also a great opportunity to hitch a ride. So whilst checking in with your mentor, you might be able to offer them a lift. It just saves on all the hassle and stress of driving. So that's a really good thing to be able to do as well. And of course, it saves you time, and you can make an arrangement on an ongoing basis and take it in turns. And if you like your drink and that sort of thing after the festive board, well, you can have a drink and still be safe. Because remember, Freemasons don't endorse drink driving, right? We want to make sure all our brothers and all of you online are safe when you're enjoying in the festivities, of course. Because we are like real brothers after all, right? So some good tips there, Marco. Thanks for that. What else do you do ahead of a meeting for preparation?
Yeah, one of the things you just mentioned, the drinks, and also what happens afterwards is the festive board, which is a nice 3 to 4 course meal typically that to attend. And there's, obviously the dining arrangement there. And some lodges, they have got their own kitchen. Other lodges, they have a catering company providing the great meal. And then in other lodges, yeah, and then in other lodges, you have got, the opportunity to go to a pub or a restaurant afterwards. And for example, if you're lucky enough to attend a meeting in Winslow, my recommendation is sometimes even then thinking about skipping lunch because you're going to be set for an amazing meal.
Wow, it's making me hungry just thinking about it. And I know the pub you mean in Winslow. Guys, for those of you who aren't already on board, if you like your grub, you're in for a great surprise. Delicious roasties and fine cuts of meat. It's all fantastic. In fact, I've got to stop right there because it's making me hungry right now thinking about it. Oh, it's all yum. Really is good stuff. So, Marco, you mentioned raffles earlier on. Tell me about that.
Yeah. There's two things. Obviously, when we talk about the dinner, obviously, what you do is you typically also think about bringing the dinner money that you can kind of reach out to the secretary when you arrive to the lodge and make sure you pay that. But there's also something else that you do between the meeting and the actual festive board, typically, or during the festive board, or at the end or so. There is a raffle. At some lodges do it in different ways, and there's a raffle. So, for example, what I won in one of the raffles, Old Spice.
Yeah, I remember Old Spice.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I actually won in one of the raffles. Well, I guess, it depends on when you win. When you win the raffle, that you can walk away with something interesting or funny or something really nice, and has been always quite a surprise. And the raffle is a lot of fun. And what I make sure is, because typically what you do is it's usually a £5 for one ticket, and one ticket is usually 5 different numbers, so you got 5 chances to win. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good prizes, and it really makes the whole experience really interesting and engaging.
Great stuff. And what other donations were you talking about earlier?
Yeah, well, there's other donations, and typically, so the raffle money goes also into a charity fund, but there's also typically an envelope that is being provided to you, and you decide what you would like to give, and it's again supporting a charity. So what I do in preparation of any of the meetings, so I make sure I've got my dinner money ready if I need it. I've got, some money for the raffle and a bit of money for the donation. And it's up to you. You decide what you want to give. That's the most important piece. And I know John mentioned, in the future, who knows, maybe we have to swipe our credit cards instead of bringing cash. I don't know if that's going to change, but in the past, it used to be typically cash that we bring. And that's why it's kind of important to have the smaller notes on you when you get there. Then, of course, you always have the opportunity to go to the bar and get your money changed.
All right, good stuff. Well, Marco, this is sounding like so much fun. I'm a little hesitant about asking my next question. I don't want to put a damper on things because it's a question that my girlfriend quite often asks me. No, it's not the one which is, does my bum look big in this? It's the other one. It's, what should I wear?
Right. Have you watched the film Blues Brothers?
Oh yeah,
about Aware of the Blues. Yes. So we did a big session in the last etiquette meeting where we spoke about how you look like. So it's a bit like Blues Brothers without the hat, without the sunglasses, without the white socks, and you add a black tie to it and white gloves. Those are the kind of things that you kind of typically are equipped with, and that's and again it does tell you on the summons what the kind of dress code is, but in a summary, that's what I would say. And if anybody wants to learn more about it, they can go back and have a look at the other etiquette meeting that we did.
All right, stuff. And John mentioned earlier on about gloves. Where'd you get these gloves from? What's
Oh yes, the white gloves. So yeah, and different lodges do it in different ways. But at your initiation, what you typically do is you'll be either the lodge provides them to you, someone buys them for you, or you just get them yourself. These are white gloves that you would wear at some of the at the meetings. And of course, like John just mentioned, there's exceptions, but I have not been to any lodges that did not wear white gloves myself personally.
All right, cool. And guys, sometimes you might forget your gloves in meetings, and don't worry, somebody always has a spare somewhere. I know I've forgotten.
And in fact, yeah, Dev, in fact, that's what I was going to say exactly. What you have a case, and I tend to actually keep spare gloves in that case. Sometimes an extra set that I have, and that's a good thing to have because you can provide that set of gloves to someone who might have forgotten the gloves, and that's a great thing. And I also keep a gun inside, a loaded gun in my case.
A gun? You keep a gun?
I mean. I drive a Mitsubishi Shogun.
You cheeky guy.
I'm just joking. No, I was just joking. I was just trying to see if you're still awake and everybody is listening. Of course, there's no gun. There's no Shogun.
Disappointing now. Not even a water pistol. Right. You devil.
No.
Right, good stuff. So, well then, mate, what other tips can you share about preparing for part of a meeting, mate?
Yeah, the other thing is, obviously, I touched on that earlier with the parking. Let me tell you, I actually went to, I thought I was going to be early enough. It was, the commute to the center was a lot longer than I expected. And I arrived at the car park and then I realized that I had to pay for the car park, which isn't a problem, but I never carry coins, so I couldn't use the coins to feed the machine. I had to then look at the machine, and it told me that I need to use a certain app to pay for the parking, as you're probably familiar with. Of course, that app was not on my phone. I had other parking apps, but not every car park uses the same one. So I had to download it. I had to register my card and then pay for it. So in short, I was nearly late for that meeting, I can tell you. So my advice is to get there, plan for an hour before, if you can, especially if it's a meeting or a place where you haven't been before and you don't know what the parking situation is, because there might be 70 or more people coming to a meeting and maybe there is not enough car spaces available.
Good stuff, really good advice. Okay, so let me just see. Some meetings can have up to like 70 plus people. Yeah, that's just amazing. How do you keep control or keep people in check and stop chaos happening?
That is a really good question. And that's not only when you got 70 people plus, even 20 or 25 can be a challenge, isn't it? Do you like music, Dev?
You kidding? Yeah, I love music. Why? Tell me.
You know, have you ever watched an orchestra perform?
Yeah, many times. I love it.
Yeah. Do you know how are actually all these musicians kept in harmony?
Yes, the guy waving the stick at the front. What's he called? The conductor.
The conductor, exactly. So the conductor typically uses a button to kind of, give direction to the musicians. And in our meetings, it's actually not very different in that sense. But our conductor is a worshipful master, and we use a gavel, like on this picture here, you can see. We use a gavel to get everything focused. And that really helps, whether it's 20 people attending or it is 70 people attending, it really works well. And that's the way we kind of keep focused during a meeting.
That's fantastic. Really clear, Marco. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Dev, I think I've talked a lot. Let me see. What about if we hear a bit from you? What do you do once you arrive at a lodge?
Okay, great stuff. So one of the first things I do is I make a point to go in and sign the visitor's log. Now, John mentioned it earlier, and here's a sort of glimpse of one. It's because I'm so excited to see my friends and the environment that it's very easy to forget. And, you know, it's important as part of the fire sort of restrictions, etc., to make sure that we do that. And to be honest, I have actually forgotten a couple of times simply because I've been so excited. But the good thing is, guys, there's always somebody there to remind you, because this is the beauty of what we do. Yeah. So Marco, you mentioned about paying for dinner earlier. Once I've signed in, when I go into the temple, whether it's my own lodge or one where I've been invited as a guest, now's a good time to go and see the secretary. And if you remember the map that John showed up earlier on the screen, it's on the north of the lodge, or on the left as you go in. Remind the secretary of your name if they don't already know them, and make sure that you pay your money to cover your meal. Marco, you already covered. It's good to have small notes. It makes it easier for everyone. You don't have to wait for your change, etc. And on occasion, when you're invited as a guest, here's some good things. You might be pleasantly surprised to find out that your host, the person who invited you, has already paid for your dinner. How cool is that, right? Don't, in this case, forget to thank them for their generosity and for them being so thoughtful. And when you start inviting guests yourself over to your lodge, it's a wonderful thing to be able to reciprocate and do the same thing. Guys, don't worry, it's not compulsory, but it's just a nice thing that you can do. And I'd personally recommend it because it'll make you feel great. And it'll also make another brother feel great. And that's part of being human, guys, right? So the cost of dining will vary from lodge to lodge. Some summons actually tell you how much the dining's going to be. And if it doesn't, no worries. You can always ring up a fellow member, ring up your mentor, ring up the secretary in advance. Just don't be shy, guys. Yeah, everybody's always looking forward to hear from you, right? Oh, and one more thing. It's always very helpful if you've got the exact money. So please make sure you've got small notes and some change, and that will just speed things up so that you're getting ready for everything. All right. Oh, what's that? Excuse me, guys. Yeah, hello. Steve. Ah, Boris, how you doing? You're right. Boris, I'll see you at 5 o'clock behind the lodge. All right. Don't forget the suitcase. Sorry.
Oh, thanks, Dev, for that nice little reminder. One of the things I wanted to say also is that when you go into the lodge, we typically think that there's a really good time to turn your phone off and make sure that your smartwatch, if you do have a smartwatch, is also put into silent mode, because sometimes, you can have your Apple Watch on and you got your phone in your pocket or your Android watch, and even the phone might be in silent mode, but your watch isn't. So I recommend turn it all off. It's a bit similar to, if you go to a cinema or a theater, typically what you do is you turn those things off. It's just common sense. And yeah, so that's one of the things. Thanks for that great reminder, Dev.
Thank you. Sorry, a bit embarrassing, but here you go. Okay, so tell me, have you ever been late for a meeting, Marco?
Yes, actually only once, and it was one thing that it was one of our own Mother Lodge meetings, and I was really looking forward to. I wasn't late because of traffic or any like this, but it was because suddenly that same day a business meeting was put into my calendar, which I could not attend, decide not to attend. So I had to attend that, and it made me late, significantly late for the actual lodge meeting. And I arrived like in the middle of it, so to speak. And the good thing is, there is a tiler outside the lodge, and the tiler will actually guide you at the right time, that will allow you to enter the lodge at the right time and make sure, because the tiler knows quite exactly what's happening and what a good time is for entering the lodge. And all you do is you do go in, you apologize, and then you take your seat quickly. And that's all it is, really. So it's nothing to worry too much about it. Of course, it's never a great thing, especially for yourself when you are late. But it's not the end of the world. It's not a reason to go out of your way and try to beat the traffic and try to speed on the motorway. It's no reason for it. Better be safe. Just go there. The tiler will assist you, and then you'll be fine. It's nothing really too crazy. But it happened only to me once.
Nice one, Marco. That's very reassuring. So what happens when you actually can't make it at short notice? I mean, things happen, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, funny enough, it hasn't happened to me. I always was able to make it, even that one meeting where I was late. But I did have situations where I had a guest invited, and a few days before they did tell me then they can't make it, and it's not a big deal. What you normally do is you do inform if you are invited, you do check and let your host know, but you also contact the secretary, let the secretary know that you won't be able to make that meeting. But one of the things is, if you do advise very, very late, at a very late stage, the lodge may have already organized your dinner meal. So you may still want to, make sure that you pay that meal, even though you can't, take part of it. But in many cases, if it's a few days before and the catering company or the restaurant hadn't been provided with a list, or it's cancelable, then obviously you don't have to pay for your meal, and it's all good.
That's a good point. And for those of you, how long in terms of this time period would it be? I think a good thing that we work to is about 2 weeks. If you're cancelling 2 weeks or less before the meeting, then most likely you're going to have to pay for your dinner, because this is how people are working, the catering team, etc., to make sure that you have a great experience on the day of your meeting at the festive board. All right, guys? Cool. So that's really great, Marco. It's really helpful. So for me, I don't know about you, but a few years back, I used to have what's called as an iron bladder, if you know what I mean. It's a different story now. What happens if nature's call happens during a meeting?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I remember. Do you remember that time when I mentioned that I had to pay for the car park and I had to download the app, and that made me really late at the edge. So I wasn't late, but I arrived at the lodge. I just managed to, get myself ready. And then I had the choice, either go into the lodge and not being late, or go into the bathroom and then being late, even if it was only a few minutes. I chose to go into the lodge. Boy, did I regret that after 45 minutes in the meeting, because I really kind of, struggled. So my advice is, if you got challenges around that, don't drink too much coffee. Don't grab the pint before the lodge meeting starts. Keep that for later. But in any case, there's always ways to, if there are challenges around that, there's always ways in the lodge to let the secretary know, or the director of ceremonies, and they will guide you, and you can obviously, take care of yourself. But yeah, my advice is, go to the bathroom before you go into the meeting.
All right. Okay. So, and also in the real world, some of us may have a medical condition, or a chronic medical condition. You know, what advice do you give to those of us who are affected?
Yeah, I would definitely discuss that with let the secretary or the director of ceremonies know about that, and they will give you guidance on that. That's what I would do. Yeah, if you do have a condition like that, that would be really advisable. Yeah.
All right, excellent stuff. Okay, good advice. So you mentioned earlier about visiting other lodges, and if I may,
yeah.
you know,
Can you tell me a bit about your experience? I would love to hear from you, Dev.
Of course. Look, I've visited loads of them, and thanks to the NECC folks, when you join the NECC, they help you and enable you. They even invite you as a guest to many, many lodges. And I've got to say, guys, it's a wonderful experience. Every lodge is different. Every lodge is unique, and your experience will differ from lodge to lodge. The thing to do, folks, is to become a sponge. Just absorb it all and just enjoy it. You know, let your hair down. It's a good idea not to comment on anything that's going to be different from your home lodge or what we call your mother lodge, but just chill, relax, enjoy the experience. And when you get an opportunity to go to another lodge, guys, you should snap it up. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's going to widen your Freemasonry experience, but it's going to enhance your life experience as well. You're going to meet loads of people from all walks of life, real quality gentlemen, right? It just is fantastic. I love it so much. I think John mentioned it earlier on. I can't wait for things to start changing so we can get back into lodges. And at the moment, guys, it's fingers crossed, legs crossed, everything crossed, that we're going to kick off back again to some normality by June. So Marco, why don't you tell us a bit about what actually happens during the meeting? How about sharing some secrets?
Have you heard of the phrase, if I tell you, I would have to kill you? There's even a film made with that title. I'm just kidding. Of course, it is like you said, Dev. I mean, when you looked at the summons, you know there was an agenda even that we shared, so you can see it looks like a bit like a business meeting agenda, right?
Yeah.
And my advice is just go through the experience. You don't have to prepare for your first meeting. You don't have to prepare anything, and as you go along and visit, you start to just learn, observe, and it's just a great experience. All I can say. This just reminds me one thing that I didn't cover earlier when we spoke about the festive board. We do eat obviously at the festive board, but we do not eat inside the temple or drink inside the temple. Just a great reminder for that.
Okay.
So, Dev, before I joined, I watched the Simpsons episode, which showed Homer and the gang and Freemasons drinking, merrymaking, singing. Tell me, do Freemasons sing?
Well, Marco, it depends on how you define singing, first of all. Sure they do, of course they do. Those are the guests who attended our first webinar about Freemasonry, the roles and the jewellery. They're going to remember us talking about organists. Each temple has an organ, and each lodge will either have an organist or a virtual organist. And this chap, will provide us with rhythm and backing tracks to ceremonial songs that we all sing as part of starting and finishing our meetings, right? Now, some of us may remember hymns from school assemblies from when we were kids. This isn't any dissimilar. And I'll speak for myself when I say that I can't sing to save my life, guys. But when I'm in a lodge, I really enjoy adding my raspy tones to the magic of other brethren. And I tell you, you're going to find some true warblers amongst us. And some of you might discover that you've actually got a talent, hey, for singing. I've got to say, it's actually really relaxing and you feel part of something. The whole vibration, the whole harmony, just lifts and touches your soul. On that note, I should say we should sing more. And if you look at psychology, for any of you working in the field, if you find yourself whistling or singing while you're working, that means you're innately happy. So singing is a good thing, guys. Don't let it turn you off. Yeah. How do we know the words of the song?
Yeah, how do you know the words? Because I'm really not great in singing and remembering songs.
Great question. When you join the NECC, they're going to give you a little pack with all these ready reckoners and aid memoirs, lots of hints and tips. So you're never alone. You've got everything you need. And what I do is I've got my little hymn sheet, if you like, tucked away in my pocket, whiz it out. And when it's time to sing, I just follow it. And it's business as usual, guys. It's really cool. Now, the pack you get from the NECC is everyone's favorite price. It's free, so it doesn't cost you at all. Really cool. So what else can we say about this stuff? I think we've come to the end of our section, Marco. I've got to say that I loved it so much that I wish I'd found out about Freemasonry many, many years ago. And that's my only regret to date. Bring it on. Let's wait for June or earlier for things to return to some normality. So thanks, Marco. We're going to hand back over then to Gray for some closing thoughts.
Thanks,
That's
Dev.
awesome. Thanks, Marco. Thanks, Dev. That's absolutely superb. Great presentation. So I think it's now time for some Q&A. So we've got Mark and we've got JK, John King. I'm going to hand over to you in a moment to take some questions. What have we got going on in the chat? I've been so preoccupied with this brilliant presentation, I haven't even seen what's been going on in there. John, over to you.
Yeah, I've got nothing here. Is Marco there? Has he got anything on the chat room for questions, or have we answered all the questions people need? Or have we lost Marco indeed?
We lost Mark.
No, Mark there is muted though.
You want to unmute Mark then?
Thank
Stephen?
you very much. No, there's nothing been asked on chat. Here we go. What examples can you give of the things raised at the risings from Jack Marshall Dean to everyone? I think John, you're probably
I can do that. As I said, the first time someone gets up, they give you information from things at Grand Lodge. And it can be as simple as Grand Lodge has a meeting every quarter, and they'll be giving out dates of that meeting to everybody. It could be that some rules have changed on how we conduct meetings, and that will be giving out on the first rising. So it's general administrative information. On the second rising is information from the province. And again, that can be things that have changed, or it could be the North East Corner Club gets up and said, we're here representing the North East Corner Club. We'd love you to join. We'll give you details after the meeting about the app, where we're going next, etc., etc. It could be that someone stands up and says, we've got a meeting in a different part of the province next week, and we're going to be doing A, B, and C. So it's a general giving out of information. At a local level, someone can stand up. Well, first of all, apologies will be given for those people that can't make the meeting from the lodge, and they're put into the minutes. But then people can raise queries about donations that have been made to charity, can make suggestions. Sometimes they'll stand up and they say, I've just received this in the last day or two, where someone's asking for money to help them in a certain cause. So there's all sorts of general information goes on. And it ranges from admin to charity to reports from the Armourer and the charity steward in there. Hope that answers it, Jack. And I know, Jack, you know where the lodge place is now in Winslow, because you've had a little walk round and found it, I understand. So well done.
John,
any other questions?
Yeah, John, I've had a question sent in to me. How many initiations can be carried out in one meeting? This is from Gerard. Thanks, Gerard.
Very good. I have personally seen up to 6 being done at any one time. I know there are plans to try and bring in people as quick as possible. But right now, I would think that if we're doing the ceremonies at local lodge level, and there are 3 or 4 people in, they could be brought in at the same time. However, I will add a caveat that the ceremony of initiation is very individual, and it's the person that's been initiated whose night it is. So there are some lodges that may want to do them individually. However, that doesn't preclude them changing their meeting dates and having a meeting every week until they've got 4 or 5 people in. So the answer is it can vary, and the ceremonies are changed and done in a slightly different way. But it's really down to the local lodge to decide how to do it. The province will always help and give information to a lodge on how to do these ceremonies if they want to do that.
Excellent. Okay, we have 3 quick questions, but I'll go through them in order. First of all, from Mark McEwen. He's asking about COVID vaccines. Will we have to receive them before we can attend on resumption? And I presume we can really just go back to the government advice and really follow the guidelines they show. But John, do you have any more up-to-date news on that?
Yeah, I have no more information than that. I mean, right now, we've no indication when we will open. We always do it by what is lawful. So whatever is deemed lawful at the time, we will follow. Well, whether we'll use any type of passport or that, I really can't say at this point. That's something that we've got a few more months, I think, to try and work out. Mm-hmm. I know that some lodges are making it known amongst their own membership who's had vaccination and who hasn't, but there's no hard and fast rule on it. I think that will be something that will be discussed, but at this point, I have no answer. As soon as we do, we'll let you have them.
Yeah. 2 similar questions from Jim Archer and Ryan Channis, both asking really how many people do you need for an initiation? Do the rule of 6 change this? Is there a minimum number of people? That makes a lodge. Well,
you need probably 6 would be a good number to do it. You can do it with 6. It's great if you have more, but you'll need 5 people to make a lodge what we call quorate. So that would be 5 would make the lodge a fully formed lodge. An extra 1 would be a candidate, giving you 6. It would mean that people have to double up on certain rules, but there is a form of the ceremony that has been provided by Grand Lodge that you can follow to do it with 6 people. And I know of at least 2 or 3 lodges within the province that have already done this. So it is possible. It's not quite the same, but it is unique. So we used to say to everybody, you will go through the same ceremony as everybody else. This is probably the first time ever in Freemason that you have a chance to have a ceremony that not everybody will have. So you can look at it either way. Having the COVID type ceremony can be a great thing because it's unique, or some people I know will want to wait until they can have a bigger meeting. But we can do it under the rule of 6.
Okay. Actually, Ryan, I'll come back to you. I realised I misunderstood your question. I'll come back to you after Jason, who asked, what advice can you give on finding the right mother lodge for me?
Jason, I think I've seen an email from Steve Howes where you were inquiring about Freemason. It didn't say where about you were looking. Let me tell you what we do, Jason. You tell us what the best centre is for you to go to. We have centres that range from Slough in the south of the province, through Beaconsfield, up through Aylesbury, into Buckingham, to Winslow, and then up to Newport Pagnell, and a little bit beyond to a place called North Crawley. So we try and find a place that is good for you to go to, the one that fits in with your work and lifestyle. Then what we do is, after talking to you and working out what the best nights are for you to meet, etc., we have a super system called Helipad, which was designed by our Deputy Provincial Grand Master, the second in charge of the province, which is fantastic. And all we do is we put in your details in there, and it brings up all the lodges that meet your criteria. So then we have a selection of lodges that will fit what you've asked for, and then we'll put you in touch with them. And it is then dialogue between yourselves, between the lodge and between yourself, to see if you're both suited to each other. So that's how we would do it. But my advice to you, Jason, is that I think I've got your email address, but I'll drop you an email after this meeting. And what I would do is forward it, if you like, to our membership officer, Simon Williams, who'll give you every assistance possible in how you can find the right mother lodge for you.
Okay. And back to Ryan Chalice. Sorry, I misunderstood your question initially, but he's asking, is there a minimum meeting attendance commitment as he works shifts and he's worried about how that will work?
I mean, there are normally 4 to 5 meetings a year, but that varies depending on the lodge you want. We would like everybody to go to every meeting, but that's not always possible. So if you can't make a certain, I mean, and that's part of picking the right lodge to become a member of. You know, I mean, we had someone that came to us in my lodge, which meets on a Thursday. Came in, we initiated him, and then afterwards he told us he couldn't make it on a Thursday night. Now, you have to look at the lodge, the days it meets, and see if it works for your lifestyle. But if you're busy, if the work commitments come in, that does come first. So occasionally you'll have to admit to miss. But I think you'll find that once you get going, you'll want to attend every meeting. And also, if you miss one of your own, you can attend somebody else's meeting as a visitor. But no, there's very little point in joining if you come in and say, well, I'll just do one meeting a year. You know, it is encouraged that you attend as many of those meetings as you possibly can. And you will enjoy it. Trust me on that one.
And you do know well in advance when the meetings are for your particular lodge. So you can plan as much as possible. So that's good. Yeah,
you should have, I said, put it in your diary for the year. They always fall on the same day and normally the same time. So get it in the diary and then you can work your work schedules around it.
Good. Someone called Galaxy A20E, so we don't have your name, we just have that, has asked a question, can we start helping other members before we're accepted into a lodge?
Okay. If that may be, you know, can you assist and help a lodge with some of its charitable things? Yes, you can. I mean, that's down to the lodge that you're with. You're always invited to any social function that goes on. If they're doing a particular thing like Freemason in the community, I don't personally see any reason why you can't join them in doing and helping that. I know that we've got a few waiting to come into my lodge, and all of them have volunteered and said, if you can use us to do deliveries or anything like that, we'd love to do it. Yeah. So yeah, not a problem as far as I can see, but you have to talk it through with your own particular lodge.
Jack Marshall Dean, second question, what does a perfect role model look like within the Masons? I hesitate to say grey laws, wave your hand, there's a perfect role model, but no, seriously.
Yeah, no, you're not anybody with a blue background, I wouldn't trust them. What does a perfect role model look like? They're all different. There are many facets in Masonry. You'll find that most Masons have got a very, very similar value set. So everybody in Freemasonry is someone that you can learn something from. And what we try and do is to pick a personal mentor within a lodge that will complement you. So if you're interested in the historical part and the ritual part of Freemasonry, we'll try and pick someone that's got experience in that area. If you want to do the social side and become involved in raising money for charity, we'll try and align you with someone as a role model to do that. But the general feeling is look at all the people in Freemasonry. It's very rare that you'll find anybody that cannot be a role model to another Freemason. That perfect one, that would be good.
We're all working on that. Yeah.
John, you've got a fan. You've got a fan in the chat. I think you deserve to give Mark a beer and pay for his festive board at the next available opportunity. It might be at his initiation.
Already given £20.
You've already given me £20. Brilliant. Okay, gang, it's 11 o'clock. So thank you very much for putting the questions in the chat. A huge thank you to our presenters today. Epic, absolutely epic. We're looking forward to seeing you again. You know, in March, we're going to talk about the sociable Freemason, what goes on in our festive boards, what's the action, what happens, the history of it, why we do it at all. And then in April, we're going to talk about art and history in Freemasonry. And this one, we're going to give you a virtual tour of United Grand Lodge in Great Queen Street. You're going to get to see some of the most beautiful temples, art, literature, stained glass, sculpture, you name it. It's all going to be there. I hope you can join us. Gang, if you want to stay on to chat, please do so. But as far as I'm concerned, this is Grey Laws and the Northeast Corner Club signing off. Once again, enjoy your day, gang. Michael, Dev, loved your presentation. That was really good. How was it for you?
Well, thanks. It was good until Susie, my dog, started barking. That's why I had to drop out for a second, try to manage that for a moment.
I was quite impressed. I thought it was you.
Oh yes, it was me barking. Yeah. Yeah. So apologies for my dog. I'm dog sitting today here, so that's and it's a miniature Schnauzer. So
Oh wow,
she does bark. Yeah, she is a barker.
Guys, I'm going to be.
That makes two of us.
Thanks again. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for those who attended and all for those who participated.
Marco, you can add that to your list for the etiquette about taking your dog into the other room during Zoom.
Yeah.
Be careful how you phrase it. Then.
Let's add that to the list.
Listen, I have to take you up on one of your comments about the raffles and winning some Old Spice. I mean, I look on Old Spice as a modern men's fragrance. I don't know where you've got this idea that it's for old people.
I use it. I use it myself. I actually do use it myself. I did win it and I use it.
We use it in the garden for reducing weeds. It's very good.
Oh, okay.
Steve,
Okay,
can you
guys.
move my spotlight?
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, Dev.
See you, Dev. Thank you.
Without Old Spice,
Have
I
a
would
nice
never
weekend. Yeah.
have been the UK's champion surfboarder. You've got to be a certain age to remember that advert.
Yeah.
Spotlight removed.
Awesome. I feel less exposed now. I need to scratch my nose, and I couldn't do it while I was spotlighting.
At least it was only your nose you were scratching. If anyone's interested, we topped out at 79 people today.
Hey, good work.
I think it's a good, yeah.
Very good.
Gentlemen,
Well done.
I do apologise. I need to leave. So, listen, thank you for an amazing presentation again.
It's been great to have you, Galaxy. I love your name. I can't wait to see
Sorry,
you. in the lodge.
on that. I can't go around being called Galaxy. It just doesn't work. So I apologise. My name's Richard. Good morning.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a good weekend, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
And you.
Have a nice weekend. I just want to say thank you once again. Marco was really, really good and give a lot of information and give you a little bit more confidence, when we start to come to know where to turn left and right, not just, thrown in the pool and start to learn to swim. So it was really, really nice. Thank you for all your effort. It was really nice.
Well, thank you, Monty. Good to see you here.
I think you'll find that people find the next one interested on the festive board. I know
Hope
we've
so.
got
I'm giving it.
I know we've got a good guest speakers coming in as well to work on that one. But that was a strange thing. When I first joined and I was told, oh, we go to the festive board afterwards, I had no idea what to expect. When I kept saying festive board, I was thinking of party hats and Christmas crackers and things like that. And no idea at all what it was like. So you'll get some idea of that in the next presentation. The festive board is a great thing. And it is a meal. It's a meal, but things can go on at the meal, which we can't tell you about all of it. But it's good fun. And it's the only exercise I get these days.
Sorry, guys, got to shoot. Lovely and fantastic. Well done, everybody. It was outstanding, as always. So well done. Catch up with you soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to go too.
Yep.
So thank you, guys. It was really nice to watch and to listen and to learn. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
One thing I particularly remember about my initiation, one thing that hasn't been mentioned so far. I remember, I do particularly remember this, when I was initiated and we went to the festive board. My proposer, my delightful pal Stan Reed, had failed to inform me that I had to reply to a toast. Now, whether he did it deliberately or not, I'll never know. I've asked him several times and he refuses to answer. Well, I found myself in a hot sweat because, I'd done presentations for my profession, etc., which was fine. But when I was doing that, I knew what I was talking about. But that evening, I didn't have the faintest idea what I was talking about. And since then, I've always made sure the initiate has got a little card, because it's only who to address it to. Worship Master, Reverend, and just an introduction. As many as one will get up. I mean, we're not all grey laws and get up and talk forever. And some of us natural speakers. But I think it's, you know, we're always talking about not embarrassing a candidate by not having a couple of pounds in pocket, etc. I think it's quite an important part to tell an initiate that at that festive board he has to reply or is expected to reply. And I think most guys always want to make a good fist of that, don't they? They really want to. So it might be a good idea to include that and give them a chance, or give them perhaps an example or a little tip sheet what they could say at the reply to the festive board.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. We have the on the little crib sheet for the opening and closing songs. We do have a section inside there on how to address people at a festive board if you're making a speech. But just we've got the presentation next Saturday, Phil, you and I, to the secretaries, province. And I've just made a note to add this down as to part of the checklist for when you bring someone in the province, is to make sure that they do know that they will be expected to do a short reply of thanks to the people that have proposed and seconded them. So yeah, it's a good point. Which, to be honest, we've not covered.
I distinctly remember scribbling something very hastily down on the paper tablecloth.
You still do. You don't.
Which I put my glass of beer on it, it went all soggy. I couldn't read it. Yeah.
That's what you still do. You still write all the stuff on a paper napkin.
Yeah, that's what I do. I still do that. Yeah, always, and I don't have to read it. Once I've written it down, I know what it is. That's crazy, isn't it? But it's just the way my pen works, or doesn't work, whichever way you look at it.
That's always a good idea to have something ready as well. As when you've been in Freemasonry for a little bit longer, you may be asked to make a reply to a speech at a festive board. Now, in theory, you should be given, I don't know, a couple of weeks' notice that you'll be asked to do this. But it's usually a tap on the shoulder while you're trying to have your meal.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's sometimes worth just having a little set thing in your head that said, if I'm asked, this is a very quick way I can do it, and give the information out to the people. So it's just have a little generic one at your back. You have to be asked to do this for a while. But if you are, and you will do it sometime that you're there, it's as well to have thought about it beforehand. And unfortunately, sometimes a lodge doesn't give you that much information. You'll find a director of ceremonies panicking, and when you see them looking round trying to see someone, you know that they're probably trying to call someone to give a speech that they've forgotten to allocate earlier. So that's a good top tip for you. Have something at hand and avoid the director of ceremonies if she starts looking for people.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Well done.
Good. Well, I see Andy Sharkey there as well. There's a man that I've not
Hi,
seen.
everybody.
I've not seen since March last year. You managed to get to one of the last meetings with me, didn't you?
I did the last one at Clayton. It was very nice.
Yeah. Oh, it seems like yesterday, but it seems like years away as well.
Yeah, it feels like it was a couple of weeks ago, but it's coming up to a year. So who knew we were going to have this year ahead of us?
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling optimistic now. It's the first time I've felt optimistic since this lot started that we're actually going to get back to it. So I'm planning for the best and preparing for the worst. That's all you can do at this point. I'm hoping to be out again before the summer recess in August. That would be nice.
Yeah, we're looking to get back into it. It'd be nice.
Besides that, I'm wearing away to a shadow of myself. We're not having all these festive walks. I wish that was true. I think I've put on more weight staying at home than I have.
Yeah, it's strange that, isn't it? You changed It's changed a lot of things. It's changed it's certainly changed my eating habits, etc.
Well, I know you've lost weight since we stopped going.
Yeah, I weigh myself every Friday, and on Friday I actually scaled in at 11.7. I've lost 21 pounds now.
Yeah, that's just one of my legs.
Yeah, 21 pounds and what? I can't believe it. Yeah, so I don't try my suit on. I think it ended up being a double-breasted jacket to tell them. I told Isabel I want new braces for my birthday because I'm going to need them.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you say, it does seem to be some light at the end of the tunnel now. I suppose I imagine, I don't know of course, but I imagine UGLE will send out some sort of directive soon, maybe yes, maybe no. Of course, it's all, as Boris said last Monday, it's all not before that, isn't it? So there's quite a lot of that going on, and I suppose you all listen to the radio news as much as I do. But of course, there's still the experts, health experts coming on, still saying that there's this and there's that. So it's all still, well, we all hope and got everything crossed. It's still quite up in the air, isn't it? You know, rule of 6, can we do a third? What is the festive forward rules now? Some centres up and down the country, not necessarily, but some centres will try and, we'll say bend the rules exactly, but they might not quite enter the spirit of it. Winslow, for instance, well, that's a different cup of tea there, as it is in Newport Pagnell, because they meet in hotels. So what will happen there? You know? So
yeah,
we're not there yet by any means, which is a bit sad, but what can we do? We can only keep up with it, keep our eye on it, and do our best, and keep doing what you boys are doing a fantastic job with, and keep encouraging, you know, newbies and potential newbies to keep them informed, keep our arm around them, keep talking to them, etc., etc. If there's anything that is happening this summer that we can relax, perhaps we can get along to that. I mean, I do remember before we had the full lockdown, meeting a few of them in the local pub, distancing, which was jolly good. But how long is it since we've been able to do that? It's months and months now, isn't it? So it is easy to fade away, isn't it? So we have to make an effort, a conscious effort. I put things in the diary. That's particularly works for me. And say, right, I must speak to Fred on Tuesday and then Bill on Thursday, etc. And I think Fred and Bill, they start to look forward and expect the call. But if you don't call them, they say, well, I thought you were going to ring me on Tuesday. So we must keep that enthusiasm going. It's very important. But it is a long time. I think we have to remember, although some of us have been in the game quite a long time, Mr. Harfield, for instance, you know, old soldiers. But I'm sure Brian can remember when he was, you know, queuing up to join and becoming an apprentice, the enthusiasm. So we have to remember that that enthusiasm is there. We have to culture that enthusiasm. We have to cater for it. I mean, it's easy, like I say, for Brian and myself and John and Brian Scarborough as well, you know, these old soldiers, old originals, as they say in chat. It's easy for us to forget that the excitement or how much you're looking forward to joining. We really must keep that flame going. I think it's up to us. It's up to us particularly to remember that and to encourage it and to help these young North East Corner Club boys to keep that going. You know, their energy, enthusiasm, and their techie knowledge is just fantastic. And you had nearly 80 people on that today. I know there's a good few guys on there that have been on it a long time, but there again, they are supporting it, which is fantastic, isn't it? You know, you've got yourself on it, Ryan, John, you've got Phil Whitney there, you've got Tony Robinson. I can go on. You know, but there's a lot of guys there are supporting, listening to their lodges and taking these messages back. And I think it's testament to us all that this last year, I mean, I get all the BP1s that people have resigned. I mean, it's still a lot. There's still a lot of people resigned in the last 12 months, probably just over 100. But, you know, but there's a big percentage of those people have passed away, or they've moved away, or their health, or their age. You know, when the first thing you see on the BP1, as it's called, is date of birth. When you see it's at 1927, you think, well, you know where this is going before you get to the bottom of the page. Hopefully the chap hasn't passed away. But they are. But all in all, I've seen very, very few people have actually resigned because they just don't want to be in it. And it's things like this that you guys are doing that keeps that enthusiasm going. And all the other things that we do. That's why we've tried very hard as a province to exercise Freemason community over this last 12 months, or nearly 12 months, to such a degree. There's been a massive lot of time and effort going into it, all of which you guys have been part of and helped with delivery, etc. We've leaned on the MCF a great deal for support, financial support, which they've given us. And that's why we have the festival, 2021 festival coming up in October. So with a big push, we have what we call the final push now. So we're asking lodges and chapters, etc., to look at the relief chest and see if they've got any money jangling about in the bottom of that they'd like to put in the MCF. Because it's times like this when the MCF and the BMBF have come to the front and helped. So it's been, and I think when new guys coming in, or whether they're in or just about to come in, I think for the chaps that I've spoken to and want to come in, my lodge in particular, they want to be part of it, and they're infused by what they see, and they want to be part of that. When that question come through, can I help brothers when you're not in yet? Well, the answer is absolutely yes. And what's the logo now? Be a part of it, join in, be more. That's great.
Yeah,
it's a great logo. I think it's brilliant. So
that's really good, Phil. And you're right. It is all about joining in as we can under the current circumstances. Without a doubt. So we've got a few people still in our chat that I think aren't quite yet Masons, which is great. So I recognize Anthony. I recognize you. Forgive me, Christopher. I recognize you. Forgive me, Andy. I think you might have been to one of our previous ones, but when you have 100 people in a meeting, don't quite, kind of clock every face in there. But certainly, I think you three and possibly Wayne, are you?
Andy's a member of Seclo 100.
Oh, is he? Hi, Andy. Sorry. I must have been.
No, that's fine.
I must have been to the meeting that you've been at, so apologies for that. But guys, how many of you in here are still waiting to join? And what's the latest? How can we help you?
Well, the rule is. Oh, who's going first?
Sounds like you are, Anthony.
Well, yeah. Obviously, my lodge is literally 5 minutes down the road. Hopefully, will be Wolverton, but it's not too far. But I spoke to my secretary the other day. I think it was. You emailed me something. Stacey, I think his name is. I've forgotten it. That's it, Nigel Stacey. Because I've met him and I met Alan as well, who I think is his assistant as such.
Alan Brendan.
Yeah, he lives over in Rushden, but his mother lodge is Wolverton, and he originally comes from London. So yeah, I've had a little meeting in Nigel's garden. He emailed me the other day. He rang me the other day saying, "Oh, just don't forget, we haven't forgotten about you." And I explained that I've obviously been on a few of these meetings and meals, quizzes on like a Friday night and stuff when they happen. And he was like, "Oh, right, yeah, that's really good." He goes, "I didn't want you to think that we've forgotten about you." I said, "No, obviously not." I said, "We just got to wait until Bojo decides that we can obviously do stuff and then go from there." But like, not to talk about it or anything, but when the news was on yesterday, I watched the daily briefing at work at 5 o'clock every day. He was the doctor guy who was on there. He was saying, don't run before you can walk, basically. It might be all well and good that Boris has said we can do X, Y, and Z, but there's still areas in the country that are still quite high with rate of infections. And until all of that is under control, that's when things will start getting lifted. And he basically was saying, like, to people in the industry, like barbers and stuff, is like, don't open your books just yet, because you might have to cancel it again, because of unless people do as they're told as such, like, and they can start pushing out more of the vaccine, then we're sort of able to do that. But obviously a lot of people, it's good to get excited to think, oh yeah, this would happen, but then obviously at the same time you need to be mindful, because all it takes is, say, out of 90% of people in the whole of the UK get vaccinated, and that other 10% say, well, I'm not having that, I'm not being controlled by these people or whatever, because if they've got that into their head and they think COVID's not real, it just puts a downer onto everyone else, because then we ain't going to get back to any sort of normality, are we? So.
For me, it's in Aylesbury. Just the same with Anthony. We're just waiting really for when we can meet. Malcolm, the secretary, keeps me informed of, because I think this is probably the second or third. I mean, I missed the previous one. This is about the second or third one I think I've been. So I enjoy these NECC, and hopefully when I can get to join, I'll be interested in joining the NECC anyway. Just keep waiting. I've been working from home since last March because I've got type 2 diabetes. So I'm just
I've
waiting.
got type 1, so yeah, just a bit.
I thought I recognised the wristband. Yeah.
When I scratched my wrist earlier, it was on there like that, and then mainly when they were talking about having to leave if you need a toilet, I was just thinking, well, I've got an exemption there, so I'll be fine. Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Because I think probably with Anthony as well, we're literally just waiting for our vaccinate, because I'm group 6, so literally any time between now and the end of March, I think supposed to get the first.
I got mine last.
Oh, you had yours, yeah.
Yeah, and I got a letter from the government to recommend that I shield from last week. So
I've heard about that.
Day at work, yeah, my last day at work was yesterday until the 31st of March. And because of the job that I do, where I sort of manage and do security in a building, it's quite a new building still. And I was sort of chucked into the deep end and said, right, do what you think's best. And I've built up like a portfolio, but other people haven't really had the experience to work in the building and cover me as such, because I didn't go anywhere last year. I had 1 week off in the whole of the pandemic, and I'd worked all the way through. And now, because of it sort of been dropped onto my work that I've having to shield, they've gone, oh, well, we haven't got anyone who can cover. And I was like, but that's not my issue. You should have got people in that I could have trained and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be very weird being at home for a month, and hopefully I don't go back crazy, but we'll see.
I think you'll find with Freemason, we won't be going back until we've got full clearance from the government. One of the obligations we take is to obey the laws of the land. So there won't be anybody saying, right, we're all going to go meet or not. So, and all precautions will be taken. I mean, all the centres were set up with gel and everything already for meetings starting, which had to be cancelled, etc., etc. So we're all pretty well ready. But be rest assured, we won't be asking people to come in until we're told it's safe to do so.
I've only obviously seen Wolverton Lodge from the outside because of my pharmacy is literally just outside it. So whenever I go and I look around and I like say to my dad sometimes, I'm like, yeah, I guarantee once I start going to meetings and that, there'll be a few people if they're traveling to say, oh, let me park at your house. You've got free spaces, because the parking around there is absolutely dreadful. So because it's a short walk. So
I always manage to get parked outside there, around that square.
I do as well, but you have to get there an hour early, as Marcos suggested.
Yeah. I know Wolverton, yes.
Sit in the car and answer emails, watch a YouTube video.
Shopping centre, I'm not quite sure how to get there, but that's good to know that you've got a place nearby.
Yeah, I've literally got 3 parking spaces. I got, obviously, from where I do my detailing as well, I've got a really good relationship with my neighbours, because of my house is on the end and then they're built onto the side of mine, and we all park around the back. So there's ways around it. If I said, oh, can I borrow the driveway or whatever, they'll say, yeah, of course, go ahead, like move the cars around and do what you want to do, as long as we can still get out if we need to. And then later on at night, obviously, once the meeting's over, and have a little bit of a walk back. It's not too far. It's only about not even 5-10 minutes, really.
That's really good, Anthony. You must give me your email address. Well, actually, it's a point that now that Anthony, now that you've told us that you haven't seen the inside of Wolverton Lodge, I'm going to make a point of making sure that the NECC don't give you that chance. We'll show you every other meeting centre, but we won't show you that one. Just know that when you finally get in, you get that moment of wow.
Yeah. I've got like when you look at buildings and you think, oh, I wonder what that's like inside, because of it's like it's classed as I think it's classed as a meeting center, isn't it? Anyway, and then when you look through, it's got like a nursery, I think, or something on the side of it. Or I remember years ago, it was called like Brook, I think it was, which was like a health clinic for under 25s. But I don't think that's there no more. But it's like you can sort of, because the glass is frosted on the outside, and it just makes you think, oh yeah, it's very not secretive as such, but obviously if it is a nursery, then the glass needs to be frosted and stuff anyway. But if you look at the right angle, you can just see through the door, and then you can see where it's open, and it's like a big hall, like what you'd imagine an old school assembly room would look like, with like wooden flooring and stuff. But that's all I've seen, so
you'll get the surprise. Wolverton has also got a museum in there, which I don't think we use enough.
I agree.
To be honest. It's in there, and it's very rare that anybody has a little walk around and a look at it. It's something we should use more and advertise more, because there's some real old things lying about in there that are quite interesting.
Yeah. When it used to, in its early days as a Freemason hall, the top floor actually used to be a smoker's bar where they used to drink fine wines and ciders and smoke tabs and pipes and stuff like that. Obviously, that's long gone. But the top floor is now split into various rooms. As John said, one's a museum, can't tell you anything about the rest of them. But as soon as you've been initiated, you're going to get to see all 3 floors and you'll love it.
Yeah, exactly. And then just go knock on the door every now and again. It's, oh, can I come in? And the women in there, but well, what are you doing? Oh, it's my lodge. It's my lodge. Let me in. Just make sure everything's all right. Oh yeah, go on then.
Just wave the old black briefcase, and I go, oh yeah, come in.
Yeah, exactly. I've got my glove. I've only got a right hand glove. I lost my left on the way up here, so you'll have to bear with me.
Yeah. When I was talking about that, I mean, I always carry more than one pair of gloves, and I have gone into a room and suddenly found that I've got 2 left-hand gloves. So I mean, to try and you have to turn one inside out if you do that, so that you can get it off, and it still doesn't really fit properly once you do that. So if you can take 2 seconds to be careful, and you can still make a mess of it.
I've got to shoot, guys. Nice to see you all again, and I'll see you all on the next one.
Top work, Wayne. Good to have you.
See you later, Wayne. Just to add something to the new guys that haven't quite joined yet, I really believe in waiting.
We've got a bit of breaking up of your audio. Can you say that again? Your audio's breaking up a bit.
Oh, apologies for that. I was just saying, for the guys that haven't joined yet, I would honestly recommend waiting until you really can, because I joined in November and got to do 2 lodge meetings before this all happened. And if somebody gave me the chance to join early just to kind of see it, because I'm really eager to get involved, I wouldn't take that day away from me ever again. So I know you've shown real great promise that you really want to get involved. It's lovely to see that. And I'm in Wolverton as well. So when you're a member, we can meet up, because I'm at Stony, and you can come and visit our lodge. It's really nice. But keep on to that hunger, because it's absolutely fantastic to get into. And when they say every day's learning, you learn every day, and you put in as much effort as you want. Some days I won't think about it. I'll go and do work. I'll do the family. And then I'll be 45 minutes into reading a book or trying to learn some rituals and things like that, because I want to be part of it. So if I can give you any advice from somebody who's new into this, it's so worth the wait. We've got a young guy that's trying to join our lodge, and we keep saying to him, really, it's so worth the wait. Don't rush it. And that's the same bit of advice I'd give to you guys.
Cheers. I've got a couple of mates who are in Bletchley, and they're saying like that they want to come. So my mate said not to hold my hand, but so I've got a friend there, because I used to work with him, and we were in the security industry. We worked together quite closely at one point. And he's like, yeah, I'll go there and make sure I'm there with you, sort of thing, because of then you're not that I'm going to be on my own, because obviously I've met all these great people through these Zoom meetings, but then like there's someone who obviously been very close with previously. Like obviously, if you guys turned up there now, I know what you look like, but then I've never actually properly met you or worked with you as such. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We just have to, fingers crossed, everything goes well, because of by the looks of it, I think I've got maybe 4 or 5 people have said they'll come to my initiation from different lodges. So yeah, quite a few.
You're going to find there's going to be a lot more than 4 or 5 want to see you be initiated, Anthony. There's a whole
I
load
can imagine, but at least I'll have 4 or 5 friends there.
you just make sure you got a couple of rolls of notes because you're buying all the beer. I joke.
Yeah,
you won't. I joke.
I'll bring the credit card if it's card only, so it's fine. I'll worry about that in 30 days' time.
Yeah, Anthony, I've got quite a few friends who are in Freemasons across the UK, and they're all anxiously waiting for when I get the date to come and visit me up from Sutton, Western-super-Mare, possibly in the northeast as well. And there's also ones I know in Aylesbury itself that are members of other lodges. So.
And there's something quite exciting as well for a lodge itself when they know they've got visitors coming from other areas of the UK, because you're fiercely proud of your own lodge, the temple itself, how well you do the meeting and all that sort of stuff. So Tim, I'm absolutely certain that if the lodge wasn't going to be on point with making it the very best initiation it probably could be, knowing that they've got people coming from other provinces, they're going to be delighted to put on the best show possible, and I think it will enrich your experience on the day as well. Okay, I'm just conscious. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry to butt in. I've been waiting since probably 2019, but I'm on the same mind that it's probably the most important day in Freemasonry for any Freemason, the initiation. So I'm in total agreement that I'm quite prepared to wait any amount of time just to get the correct ceremony, and because it's going to be something that you carry forward with you for the rest of your life. Yeah. So I'm quite prepared to wait until, it can be done correctly. I know they said there may be a way of doing ceremonies, another way to get Masons in quickly, but like you say, I think it's very important that it's done correctly, and it's something that you carry forward, and it's a tradition. So because it's a tradition, I believe it should be done, the same as it always has done, with no shortcuts. And I've been to, since 2019, I met Stan Green from, my first point of contact was Stan Green from Bletchley, and he was a real gentleman. It's great to know, and I've met so many people even on Zoom now. And I've had one meeting at the lodge just with the gentleman there, with Robin and some other people there at Wolverton, because they said that probably Wolverton would be better for me, because I worked in Wolverton in the railways for 43 years. And as one of the chaps said earlier about, he's gone past the lodge and he doesn't really know what it was. Well, 43 years I worked in Wolverton. I've been to the bank, which is next door. I didn't even realise the lodge was there until it was pointed out where it was to me.
Lloyd's TSB, then they shut it, and then the lodge was up there just on the left.
Yeah, that's right, Anthony. Yeah. Well, I work in Wolverton. I walk past it every day for 40 years. Didn't even know it was there. It's just, but the day I did go, I went one evening to meet some of the gentlemen there, just to get to know them in an interview, to follow on from my application. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't see much of the lodge. I just went in straight upstairs and into a side room. But everyone I found was really welcoming, and it gave me a great sense of camaraderie amongst the gentlemen that were there at the meeting. I think there was 4 or 5 at the meeting at the time, but since then, with the Zoom meetings and things like that, I've never ever felt excluded. I know there's certain things that the gentleman can't talk about because I'm not initiated, but I've always felt part of it. Even since 2019, I've not actually been initiated yet. I still feel part of it, and as a result of that, from day one, I've always wanted to offer help to anyone who needs the help if they need it. I'm here for anyone who needs some help, because I'm still working. I've worked all through lockdown. So people like yourself, you're living local, I'm quite prepared. If you need help with anything, I'll come give you a hand. It's not a problem.
Cheers.
That is brilliant. That's really good to hear, Christopher.
That's quite interesting, just listening to Tim and Anthony and Christopher there, to say that about having the full ceremony, not having it trimmed up in any shape or form. There's quite a thought about, getting people in as quick as possible. And it does make, I have feet in 2 camps. It's a bit difficult sometimes. But in my lodge, we have a very pleasant dilemma that we have a chap coming in our lodge about 18 months ago now. He's fellowcraft, and he has two sons, both of whom have put their papers in to join the lodge. So you can imagine him. You can only imagine he would want both his sons to have the full ceremony, wouldn't you? Which he enjoyed. So we can't. I'm the lodge secretary. It's not down to me, of course, but I can't envisage going to tell him and say we want to bring a son in, but we're going to have a trimmed up 6-only operation. It's not going to happen, is it? It's not happening. No. But there would be. But the other thing there is, do we have a double? Would they enjoy a double? Two brothers coming in together. No, I'm not great on doubles, but that might be a nice thing to do, is have a double because of two brothers and get the father doing something tools or whatnot. So there's a nice, double dilemma, but what a nice one.
Nice problem to have. Nice problem to have. Okay, gang, I'm conscious we're past 11:30. I've got to walk the dog. I've got to get the beer in. I've got 3 rugby matches to watch today. And believe it or not, I'm also going to have a barbecue for my daughter's birthday. So I've got to cram all that in this afternoon. So if that's okay with everybody, I think we'll probably sign off now, and we'll see you somewhere, either next month or at one of the quizzes or one of the social events that Neil runs. So until then, have a great week, great weekend, great month. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, guys.
Have a great weekend. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.